What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed. This is Reviewed number 90, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie The Martian.
So what can I say about Martian? Honestly, he was really good. He was like really good. I wish I'd have seen it in the theater. It was a very long movie though. 2 hours and 20 well, roughly. I think it ended. The credits actually started at about 2 hours and 16 minutes, but it was still a very long movie. And it's actually really well done in terms of the actors and the story and just in general as a movie. It was actually real. I think it gotten 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is darn good. That's crazy. So I really thought it was amazing. I picked it because it looked like a really good movie in terms of like a NASA type movie, because it's a space movie. It isn't a science fiction movie. Well, technically yes, but it's more centered on the ideas of space itself. So in that way, yes, it is a science fiction movie, and yes, the genre is science fiction, but I wouldn't really call it a science fiction movie, although it does have that aspect. I mean, when I think of science fiction, I mean like it's that they have technology and all this stuff and it's the future, but no, it's a science fiction movie. It just has its own way of doing it, but it is a space movie in terms of like actual space. I don't know what setting it was. I think it was like modern day. Unfortunately, I missed it. It was in the theater. It came out in 2015, and actually the director of Alien, which I have never seen before. I just recognize the director's name, Ridley Scott. He directed this. He also is known for directing Aliens, which I have never actually seen before because I don't want to watch it. It's terrifying. But basically, the idea of the movie is that Mark Watney basically is with a crew. I mean, I guess it would be the near future, like a few years from now. I don't know what exactly it is, but because of the technology they have in the movie, it definitely doesn't seem like it's a movie from. I don't even know what it took place. It didn't specify, or I didn't look into what it said, but it didn't specify the year. It just it was basically a space movie, essentially, with Matt Damon in it. But yeah, he plays Mark Watney, and he basically he gets presumably killed in a Mars mission, and the rest of the crew are sent home, but he doesn't make it home, and he has to survive for basically 3 years on Mars, essentially. Basically, the first Mars man, basically, or the Martian, essentially. And it's honestly a very the way that the movie is done, and the way that the actor of Matt Damon does his work as his character. It's really interesting because throughout the movie you see his development of the fact that he's surviving. He's actually willing to find resources of ways to keep himself alive. Like he's a botanist, so he knows what to do. Like he knows how to grow stuff. He makes a special area where he grows food, like potatoes and stuff, and then I think eventually what happens is that he learns like he somehow figures out how to control the technology that he has on Mars to actually to contact mission control, which is very important. And eventually he does get home, but I kind of got confusing at points. Although what I really liked about the movie itself was how he used his like little vlogs, like he record himself talking about what's going on Mars and everything. And it was a really cool aspect of that. I really liked it. It was really cool. This is not my favorite movie. I picked it because it looked like a really good movie, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard it's very good, and I saw it, and it's actually well done. Like seriously, for a movie about space, which I'm not a big space fan. I like it, I enjoy it, but I'm not like a big space fan. I didn't think I would actually like this a lot, and it turns out it's actually a very interesting movie. It has that aspect of space that you don't really see a lot in movies anymore. At least I don't see it. I don't really watch a lot of space movies. I watch space movies, but not like this. Now this isn't a movie I really watch. I don't really watch space movies, but this particular movie, it was pretty darn good. It had some pretty familiar actors, like especially a lot of the actors. I'm like, oh my god, it's that actor, and so it was really cool. So like Matt Damon, obviously he was the main character. He played the main character of the movie. Was to basically fend for himself for basically 3 years, and like make grow up and all that stuff. And then of course that's just like a Kristen who I don't even know really what she's been in. The only upcoming project that she's gonna be in is X-Men Dark Phoenix, which is a new X-Men movie, and that's about it. I don't really know where she's from. I've never seen her in a movie that I've seen before, so that's kind of it. Jeff Daniels was like also in it. He basically was the director of NASA in the movie, and he looked so familiar. Like it's like some of those actors where you recognize them, but yet you don't know they don't like you recognize it's like that guy looks so familiar, and then you look it up and it's like, oh, I guess this is the first time I've seen them. This is the first movie I've seen them in, and that's how it happened. It also starred it's weird. It's the guy from Doctor Strange. In fact, this movie came out before Doctor Strange even was released. It came out about a year before that movie was released, and that movie had this art. Basically, I think it was Vincent Kapoor. Am I getting that right? Pretty sure. And he, along with Benedict Wong, who played a character called, I think it was Ben. I think it was. I don't know. That sounds right. But basically, he and that guy and Benedict Wong were in Doctor Strange together, and that was the only time I've seen them. It's like it came out a year before, but even then, it's still really cool to see that kind of thing. I also recognized Kristen Wiig, who was in the movie too. She played basically another part of. She basically played another like addition to the NASA department, basically, and she played this woman who just I don't know what their roles are really, but they're all different. And I recognize her because I've seen her in Despicable Me and other things like that. It was really cool to see her in that. It also starred Michael Pena, who he's not Mexican, but he is his dad, his like parents or whatever are Mexican or whatever, and he has like a weird last name, but he is in the movie as one of the crew members of the Ares, which is the spaceship they're in. And I was really surprised to see him in the movie because I've only seen him in a couple of things. I've seen him in Ant-Man, and that's pretty much it. I think that's the only movie that I've seen him in recently. I know I've seen him in other movies, but that's the only movie that I've really recently seen him in is Ant-Man. And I'm like, this is cool. He's Michael Pena. That was cool. So that was really cool thing to see. It also had a lot of other actors. Kate Mara was in it. She was in that god-awful Fantastic movie. It was terrible. I never saw it because I was quite important. So it's basically the only time I've seen her in an action movie besides the trailers. But yeah, she played another one of the crew members on the Ares, which is the ship they are on the start of the movie. It also had other actors in it, like Donald Glover, and I think it was Sean Bean. Sean Bean was the coolest guy to recognize. I was like, oh my god, Sean Bean, because he's one of my favorite actors. Sean Bean is one of those actors that when you see them, it's like, oh my god, it's gonna be good, because I always loved his movies, and like I remember while I was watching the movie, I was watching it, and I noticed I couldn't help remember those lines from Pixels, where he's like, it's supposed to be a beer commercial. Let's just put a beer commercial. It was like he was talking about a beer commercial. It was really funny, but yeah. I was really excited to see him because when I saw him, like, oh my god, it's Sean Bean because he's awesome. And the really interesting thing about this movie is it had like two references. It had like two nerdgasm references. It had a Lord of the Rings reference, the the guy who played Benedict Wong's character, he basically, I think that like there was a point in the movie where Christian Wiig's character is looking at a screen and like he's like, you know, why'd you call it Elrond? And then Benedict Wong's character is like, it's from the movie Lord. It's from the movie Lord. He's a character from Lord of the Rings, and it was really funny because they were in the same room with Sean Bean, who was in those movies, which is awesome. I thought that was really funny. It was a really funny little Easter egg, I guess. And then further in the movie, we have a Easter egg name dropping Iron Man, which is really cool. The fact that they have two, you know, nerd type of like big nerd culture icons in there. Lord of the Rings and Iron Man was really cool. It was like the description of what Mark's actions were going to happen about towards the end of the film. Although towards the end of the film, I didn't really understand exactly what was going on. I didn't really get it, but it was still really good. Now, I felt like the beginning of the movie, they showed off like the surface of Mars, and it is amazing. It's visually stunning to look at. It's like, it's one of those things where you look at the view, look at views, and it's just like, it's amazing. It's like, wow. It really is. It's like one of those scenes in the movies where you watch it, watch the beginning of the movie or part of the movie, and you happen to look out at the scenery around you, and it looks amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I was finding it really beautiful, honestly, because I didn't realize how beautiful Mars actually was until I was like, wow, this is amazing. So that was a really cool aspect. But overall, this movie was very, very good. I liked the space aspect. Like I said before, I don't really see a lot of space movies. At least, still, I see that science fiction movies like, you know, Star Trek, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. I don't really watch a lot of movies about people going into space. I'm just not into that. I'm more into the science fiction, like, you know, Star Trek, Star Wars kind of thing. You know, the space movies where it's not really about, you know, space, like, you know, outer space, like, you know, aliens and all that stuff, starships. Like, I'm talking about the movies that involve NASA and space control, all that stuff. I don't really watch those, and this is the first movie that I've seen where I actually liked it. I actually appreciated it. Although I will say this about this movie, it's a bit too long. I don't think it needed to have its 2-hour movie type thing. Like, it was 2 hours, and I want to say it was about 2 hours and 15 minutes if you want to not have the credits, because when you realize you're looking at a movie's time, and that's counting credits. So usually it's 7 minutes before the movie actually ends. Like there's like that several minute gap between the end of the movie and the credits. Like the credits and the end of the movie is like all that, because they'll always catch that. So I noticed that I was like, oh, it's 2 hours and 21 minutes. Well, wait, that's not the entire movie, because if I don't watch if I don't stay for the credits, that isn't actually 2 hours and 21 minutes. But still, I still felt it was like over long. It didn't need to be that long. But otherwise, I felt I told a really, really interesting story. Basically, just about, you know, surviving, like, you know, being on a different planet, essentially, and surviving, learning how to survive. And the guy's like, you know, I think he gets a pole or whatever stuck through his suit, and he has to, like, survive it. So basically, survive for, I think it was nearly 900 something days, so almost 3 years on Mars alone, without any help. And all he could do was do, like, had the resource he had, he had the brains to do whatever he could to survive, and that was the only way he could do it. And I felt that was a really interesting story that was being told right there, was showing how he just survives and how Mission Control was able to track him down. That was the really cool part about, like, they were able to actually locate him and actually be able to find Mark Watney. That was really, really cool. The fact that they were able to do that, and at the same time he was able to send the messages. Like, they were able to eventually communicate with him, but also they were able to, like, have a camera, Mark was able to discover this machine that would allow them to take a picture of like a sign or whatever, and then you're able to have a camera that would like chew like a thing, and then Mission Control was able to was able to get like letters, the same thing he was doing. So I thought that was really cool. The communication aspect of the movie between Mission Control and Mark was really cool. The fact that they were able to communicate like that, it was just like wow. It didn't feel like it was the future. I think the movie did. I definitely think it was in the future, sometime in the future. Like it was just like I don't know, a decade or more in the future than now. Because it did come out in 2015, so it would have been like I don't know, maybe 20 years, 15 years, like that. I think it was more like 15 years. I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I don't know exactly. It definitely felt like it was sometime in the future, because they do have some technology, but it isn't any more advanced than the we have now. Like it's not like it's any more advanced than the way that NASA has right now. But still, at the same time, that I thought that was really interesting. I love the characters that each actor plays. I was very surprised to see all these actors in the same movie. Like that Sean Bean, I was like, oh my god, it's Sean Bean. Like I was so happy to see him in this movie because he's one of my favorite actors. He was excellent as Boromir. In Lord of the Rings. It was a fantastic thing. In fact, he was able to reference two pop culture icons: Iron Man, a superhero, and Lord of the Rings, a franchise, or in this case, Elrond, a character from Lord of the Rings, which I felt was really cool. But overall, I'd say that this movie was well deserved. It was a very interesting movie. Basically, just about NASA and mission to Mars. A astronaut gets lost on Mars, gets left behind because everyone else thinks he's dead. Like some kind of accident happened in what seems like a sandstorm kind of thing, and his character essentially, well, they think he's dead, but it turns out he's not. He's alive. He's like barely alive. He's able to remove the debris from his suit, and then just survive. Learn how to make water from hydrogen and nitrogen, which was really cool. I love the fact that's the science aspect of it, but the fact that he basically had to science his way out of it. His only way to survive was to science it, science himself, like use his science knowledge to get through this. So like I can't do this. I need water. So he was able to make water by combining or to set hydrogen on fire and nitrogen. I think it was H2 and N2, which is hydrogen 2 and nitrogen 2. I don't know the science aspect. I'm just guessing that's what it means. And then just make water. Just seeing how he survives on Mars is truly incredible. I thought that was amazing because I've never really, well, I like survival movies, but certain ones, like if it's a movie about surviving in a certain place, like Mars, that's pretty cool. Like having a human survive on a planet that normally a human wouldn't be able to survive on, like Mars. And that was a really cool thing. Like the fact that we have all these characters, trying to, convinced that he's dead, and it turns out he's not dead. He's still actually very much alive. And then fending for himself, making sure he gets enough food himself, rationing the food, making the food, actually growing the food. It's actually a really cool scene where he plants the food, and then he sees this little sprout of a bulb pop out, and that becomes potatoes. Like he's able to grow food for himself. And that was a really cool part about the movie, was the fact that he was able to, he had the skills to do it. Like remember there was a part of the movie where he was in front of his camera. Basically, he was like, throughout the movie we see him do these little vlogs, essentially, just like talking about basically mission logs or whatever, vlogs, whatever you call it, these logs about just talking to himself or talking to people. If I were to watch it, I don't really know what the idea was, but basically talking to himself about what he's been going through, all that stuff. And it was really, really cool. The fact that throughout that time period, we just see him constantly talking about it. Like we see every transition in the movie, we see that the souls represent the days. I was kind of confused about that, like the whole idea of the souls, but then I realized that the souls are actually days. That because we get to soul 16 and then soul 74, which is basically its days of how many days has passed since he's been on Mars. Although I don't really know how many days, how long the day is on Mars. It definitely didn't say like that long, because in the movie he grew a beard, which is crazy. But the point aside, the really cool aspect of it was the fact that he was able to like one of the logs. He was like, I'm a botanist. Luckily, I know how to do it, so I'm gonna survive by thinking my way out of this, using science to think my way out of it, so I can survive on this planet. A planet which normally humans shouldn't really be on for for long periods of time, like whole years. Because it was a crazy thing because of the amount of time that passed while he was on Mars. He ended up growing a beard, and that was really crazy. But I mean, not all of the movie I understood. Like, there was a lot of points where I was just kind of spacing out. I didn't really know what was going on in the movie. Although I did like the characters. I like Sean Bean's character. I like Benedict Wong's character. Like, I love the movies where I'm surprised by actors appearing. Like, I'm like, oh my god, it's that actor. It's so cool. And so that was really cool. Otherwise, I'm like, well, I have seen that actor before, but turns out I haven't actually seen them in any movie before, or I've heard about them, but I've never actually seen the movie. Like, kind of like George Clooney. I knew he was, but I hadn't seen him in any movies before, and it was like one movie that I was like, that was the first time I saw him in a movie, essentially. So that's really all I can say about The Martian. It was a very, very good movie. I enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna press that on as being my favorite. It is far from my favorite. It's definitely on top of being a very, very decent movie. A good space-based movie, about space, discovering, one man can change the course of history but by being on Mars, by being able to survive on Mars for that long of time. Well, in the movie, by the end of the movie, he does say that he was he hadn't showered in a year and a half, which is weird because it said that he said that he had to figure out how to make 3 years worth of food, which he does, but it was still very crazy. And then of course there was a point in the movie where his food, his craft basically died because he accidentally blew up the facility or whatever that was keeping making the crops happening for the food or whatever, potatoes, I don't know. It gets a little bit complicated with the story, but still, I really thought it was a decent movie. And I think one of the really cool things about the movie is seeing the actors and recognizing them. Like Sebastian Stan. I think I forgot to mention that Sebastian Stan was in the movie, and he's known for playing Winter Soldier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he was in this as another astronaut, basically. Although we don't really get to see a lot of the crew. We see maybe 20 minutes, maybe, total of the crew itself, because in the movies it mainly centered on Matt Damon's character. But it's about him. He is the Martian. He's the first man on Mars to be on Mars for that long a time, and he's stuck there until he can get home. And so it's called the Martian for that reason, because he's on Mars for that long. And I didn't expect to see a lot of these actors, and in fact, we don't really get to see the crew for that. I think we get to see the crew for the beginning of the movie, and then we don't see the crew until the plot decides, oh, let's have the crew show up now. Pretty much. I think it was the point where Mark talking to one of the directors of NASA itself, does the crew know my life kind of thing, and it wasn't until then that I think it was shortly after that scene that we finally get to see the crew again after I don't know, an hour or half an hour, I don't even know. 45 minutes, something like that. I don't even count. I couldn't keep track of time, but a long period of time, and that's what really matters. That's really cool. But overall, very, very good movie. I really thought it was very creative and interesting, and seeing a mind at work, seeing someone who knows what he's doing in a situation where he calls for survival, like when a guy is trapped on another planet and he has to survive, he has to think his way out of it, he has to use his what he knows to get out of the situation and get himself home. And by doing that, it means doing things that he himself has been known for, and that was the really, really interesting part about that, because he's a botanist, and he was able to to grow his own food and be able to know everything about living in a situation where he could die if he doesn't take care of himself. And that was the really, really crazy interesting part about it was that. So yeah, I think that's all I really can say about The Martian. I'd say it got a, yeah, I think it. Honestly, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 simply because a lot of the parts I just couldn't really comprehend what was going on in the movie. It just was confusing. I didn't really get all of it, but most of it was very interesting. There's just some parts where I just kind of I lose focus on the movie. I don't really know what's going on, and I was just kind of at the point, really, does it? Not, it's still a really good movie anyway. And that does it for this review on Martian. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie overall, what your opinion is. I'd love to hear it in the comments. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate the support. And if you're new around here, subscribe to Become a Spy for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. And we'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.